Happy Monday. It is. Golly, you guys, January 26th. So I am glad to see you. My name is Dee Corchin, if we don't know each other. And heading into our last week of January and here for our weekly team time, which for those of us here, I know is a rock in our calendar, really the time that we can come together as community to learn, to grow, to be the best that we can be. And especially as we're heading into this 3.0 metabolic era. So much to learn and relearn as we are evolving into this new position in the marketplace. So glad you guys are here. And I know we've got at least one new face on the call. Frank, want to give a shout out to you and Shauna for continuing to share the business opportunity. And maybe just you can say a word about your new coach that just joined us.
Yeah, I mean, we got a Sean and I are thrilled that Jessica is a brand new coach. She's been a client of ours for a little while, done really well, and we've been talking the last couple of weeks on our check-in calls, and she really has a desire to pay it forward. And then after she signed up earlier today, we got on our kind of a kickoff call and she's got some great goals and she's got some really great goals to achieve by the end of February. So we're going to hear from her probably later on in next week or into February as she achieves those goals. But for right now, just everybody kind of wave at Jessica. Or Jessica, can you identify yourself? Wave right there. She is. She's got a gray shirt on, and we're excited to have her as part of the team. Thank you, Dee.
Thank you.
Yeah, glad to have you, Jessica. And you know what? Every single one of us on this call can remember our first day as a coach, our first meeting as a coach. So we are glad you are here. And as a team, if you know, you can go back in your memory to your first, um, just getting started as a coach, maybe drop in the chat just a reinforcement for all of us. What would be the best tip that you could give a new coach, or what would you say to your younger coaching self? So it'll be fun to see how that shows up in the chat. So tonight we're going to talk about, I think, a really important topic. We've been sharing so much about the importance of us moving beyond social media in order to reach our bigger audience that can be positively impacted by our program and also by the business opportunity. So we've talked about getting out into the community, joining book clubs, whatever it might be that's going to help you. Create new connections and have conversations with individuals that could potentially benefit from all the incredible things that we offer. So it's important to know how to talk about what it is that you do, right? So if you're at a party or you're, out and about and somebody says, well, hey, Agatha, well, what is it that you do? That we can easily feel comfortable, especially in this 3.0 metabolic world. So, can be used as in casual conversations, can be used in formal networking events, that sort of thing. So we're going to really touch on it all tonight, really letting you guys learn from your peers, because I know that some of us have been actually actively working on this. So I'm first going to turn it over to Kelly. You guys know Kelly as an experienced coach. She has built an incredible business through LinkedIn, through social media, but she's also actively involved in networking. So Kelly, I know that this is something you've been continuing to refine. So I'm just going to turn the floor over to you.
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Just making sure. Okay. Thank you for inviting me to share a few things today. Um, I the first thing I want to do, I don't want to have a lot of you know, preliminary stuff. I want to get to the point because we like to just in these meetings we like to get to the point and get the meat out of what's going on. Okay. So one of the first things we want to do when we're introducing ourselves to someone when they say, "Hey, what is it that you do?" or what's going on, is the main points we want to remember is you want to mention who you do something for. If you start out with, "Oh, I'm a this, and I've done it for this long, and I've done, this and this," it starts being about you. We want it to be about them and what you can do for them. That's really what they want to know. So who it is that you're helping, what problem it is that you solve, and what's the end result? What are they going to get? Okay. What's the main big picture, the main big idea? You're not going to tell them every detail. You're just going to give them that big main idea. So you want to lean on your past experience, whatever that happens to be, and you might mention that in the process, which I'm going to give you some examples here in a little bit, and you'll see what I mean. But the section of the population that you are targeting is not for everybody. Maybe it's busy moms. Maybe it's postmenopausal women. Maybe it's those that are 50 and over, or, I mean, it's whatever, that kind of thing, that's what you're looking at those are some groups you could say. Perimenopausal, those that are chronically tired, that could be a lot of people. So you can just put in some different phrases that they'll be like, oh, something that might hit on a pain point for them. Okay. So, and then you want to name some of the metabolic problems that you're going to help solve. Okay. Maybe one or two, not the whole list. Okay. And then there are common things that that you've helped with clients before. Okay. And you might even have a story that you can follow up with of somebody, oh, I had this one client, blah, blah, blah. Because people remember stories. Okay. And they remember things that when we paint a picture in their mind, they remember that. Because when it comes down to it, we think in cartoons and we think in just memories and feelings. Okay. So we remember pictures, we remember music. When we remember music, what do we remember? We remember what we felt with that song, right? So those are the things that we remember. And we want to be memorable in a positive way. So here's an example. After practicing in healthcare for over 30 years, now I'm guiding others to increase their metabolic health threshold and reduce the need for medications. That's it. It doesn't have to be a big, long story. Okay. And that's something you can say in an elevator if somebody happens to say something. Here's another one. After teaching over 25 years, now I'm teaching and guiding whatever your qualifier is, postmenopausal women, perimenopausal women, those over 50, to preserve muscle, lose fat, reverse some of the most common health problems like diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, etc. Here's another example. After practicing as a dental hygienist for 13 years, I'm guiding others in reducing inflammation, not just in the mouth, but systemically. Those are things that make people ask a question. They're like, oh, how are you doing that? What does that mean? What does metabolic health mean? So just using the things that are, the specific population that if you say, I help people, la, 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 that's too general in most cases, and you lose them. But those three words, I help people, blah, excuse me, and it becomes about you as opposed to about what you can do for them. Okay. So it needs to be more about what they're going to be on the receiving end. I help people with, regain their metabolic health and thrive in life. Or I help people add not only life to years to their life, but life to their years, or something like that. Something, it can even be a real short little thing. You might have a short version and a little bit longer version of what you would want to say in an elevator pitch, depending on the situation and who's around. So those are some ideas, but we always want to kind of look at what is, and I used to say, I help people, la, la, la. And I had been on some training recently where they were giving that as an example of you're going to lose people every time with that. And it's true. And if you look at what a lot of people say, if you listen, and even if you're looking on LinkedIn or anything that's a professional group, an individual, they'll say, I help people XYZ. But the first thing you want to do is say, mention what it is that you're going to help with that's a pain point for them. It makes them question, oh, that might be something I need. They're not going to, may not tell you that, but that's what they're thinking. Do we have any questions or wonderings about that?
Really want this to be interactive today. So if you guys have questions for Kelly, I think you did a great job, Kelly. One, I love the pace at which you kind of rolled this out for us, but stating the problem or what it is that the solution that you're offering for people. And I just recently heard that you edified it again about not saying, I help people who, but actually name the scenario, and then the individual can probably see themselves in it. So, questions, we're going to have a couple of other people share too, but questions for those of you guys that have been doing networking or anything that you get tripped up on.
I've got a question.
Frank.
So it sounds like Kelly's really rehearsed these statements over and over. It sounded natural to me. And maybe she was referring to her notes, but it sounded natural. So my question would be, how does she practice that? I mean, you don't just go to an elevator and start talking. How do you practice it so it does sound natural?
Kelly.
I practice at home out loud and sometimes in front of the mirror so that I can make sure the expressions are what I want them to be. Whenever I'm going to do in our, I'm a part of a BNI group, and so it's Business Networking International, and I'm in a chapter there, and there are 40 of us. And so we don't get a whole 60 seconds. We get 40 seconds to introduce our business. 40 seconds goes by real fast. So I put on my timer on my phone and I practice saying what I'm going to say. I don't say the same thing every week. I say something different every single week that relates. And I usually bring up something that's happened with a client, given a situation, something they can relate to, something they may think of somebody in their world that can relate to, and then talk about what happened. Like for instance, one of my clients he had come to me because he'd had 3 heart surgeries, didn't think he would survive a 4th, started working with me. Within a year, he was getting completely clean scans from his vascular surgeon and his cardiologist, and they were amazed and were wondering what he was doing and how he had achieved that. That's metabolic health. Yes, he lost 35 pounds also, but that's not what they were looking at. They were looking at those clean scans, and that's what mattered. They were able to take him off all of his medications. He didn't need to be on the medications anymore. And that was just shocking to him. But that's a huge thing that this plan does for people. I mean, our bodies will heal it. Our bodies want to heal, and our bodies want to heal themselves. And they can do that if we give it the right tools. And the right tools is nourishing properly with the right timing, because we want to keep that blood sugar steady, we keep that metabolism going. So that is what makes a difference. It's helped the body clear out what it needs to clear out rather than keeping it all clogged up.
Yeah, that's so good. I
Is
think
that helpful? Did that answer your question? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
client examples are
I'm
a
sorry. Did
great.
that answer the question?
You got a thumbs up for that. Yeah, you got a thumbs up for that. I think it's so important, right? And I love that you're like, that's the biggest shift from 2.0 to 3.0 is not specifically saying, I help people lose weight. Or you know how so many people are struggling with, losing weight? Like you made this all about the metabolic, all the numbers, and the health that really matters. And weight loss may be a part of that ultimately, but taking it beyond that is so good. And I was a part of BNI. It was a fundamental in my business for, gosh, probably 12 years. And I always practiced practice, practice. Now, ChatGPT is your friend. It can help you with a script. You can say, help me write a 40-second intro presentation to what I do. But as Kelly mentioned, we have to be careful not to be following too much of scripts because it does need to sound like you. You need to practice. It needs to sound like you and roll off your tongue. So right now, the lyrics may change, but the melody is the same in terms of the messaging that we're putting out. So, we are creating a resource document for you guys with some of these examples. I'm going to have Kelly put some of her stuff in it. The blueprint is there. Have Kelly put some of her examples in and a couple of other people as well, just so that we can have this because I know that it's hard to frantically take notes and create it. So, thank you, Kelly. That was awesome. And Vicky Meister, I know that you have been actively working on this as you're starting to interact with some new groups and hosting an event this weekend and
So yeah, and thanks for doing that. Yes, it's been a process, and 2 days of being stuck in the house kind of helped with that. So anyway, I am going to put on my glasses because I can't read without it. There were a couple of hints, and Kelly and I were right in line on some of them. But one is, don't start with "I help." Everything I used to say started with "I help." Don't do it. You lose whoever it is you're talking to immediately. That's what 95% of the people say. So don't do that. Also, my encouragement, don't start with, I'm a metabolic health coach, because nobody knows what the heck metabolic health is. So until we have an educated group, don't don't go there. It just confuses it, and then you've lost them. They're going, oh, what's it, metabolic health? I don't know. So consider starting with as someone who. So maybe as someone who looked at my blood test results and had no idea how to improve them, as someone who was told by a doctor I was pre-diabetic and knew I didn't want to go on insulin, as somebody who reached senior status or menopause or middle age, gained weight, never got a good night's sleep, felt sluggish, lost my oomph, right? Then go into what you do. And I'm going to give you my example, still a work in progress. You also do want to avoid the words, and Kelly touched on this too. Well, okay, right. They're pause words, and they indicate a lack of confidence. So that's where the practice, Frank, to talk to your question, that's where that comes in. So I more frequently talk to groups. It may be small groups, it may be networking groups of people. So for me to have something I can stand up and say, and I've not timed this, so I have no idea. But anyway, I'm going to read to you where kind of my work in progress, where we are right now. As someone who reached the crazy menopausal stage of life and gained weight in weird areas that I couldn't seem to lose while eating fairly healthy and exercising, also suffered with brain fog, lost my zing for life, had ridiculous sugar and carb cravings, had high cholesterol when it had always been textbook perfect. I was done. I don't want anyone to experience the failure, fear, and frustration I did. So I partner with people who are experiencing similar symptoms, support them with a healthy nutrition plan proven to correct these symptoms, and give them back the freedom to be their best selves. If you choose to go that route, it doesn't have to be you. So it could be, like Kelly was saying, it could be, I worked with, someone who worked with a client who was just diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Or it could be as someone who watched my mother suffer with type 2 diabetes and didn't know how to approach it. There are excuse me, all kinds of things you can work in that way. So that's that. Any questions? Dang, I was that good. No questions.
I love how you use the
I,
word I partner with.
mhm,
So instead of I help, I partner with individuals that want.
mhm.
Really great
And
word.
I loved her as a fill in the blank, whatever problem it was, as someone who, or whatever. That's another good segue into whatever you're saying.
Yeah. And because it depends, you can weave your story in as well, right? Again, making sure it's not just weight loss related, but my story might be as someone who was an avid exerciser, but never could seem to build the muscle and lose the fat in a way that, that I wanted it to.
Mhm.
I realized I needed a targeted, healthy nutrition plan to target that fat loss. And I partner with individuals to help them work themselves out of that frustration as well. How about you, Debbie? I know you've done some learning from others on this topic, and you've been working on it yourself.
Hi. Yes. Okay. So yes, I agree with Vicky. I actually wrote down some words not to say, which I thought were important. So things like actually and basically and like and you know. So we really do want to know what we're going to say, kind of have something figured out and just have it in your back pocket so that when someone asks you, you can say it. I like Vicky's speech, but I feel like it would be like think less is more. So I feel like if you can say something that they're going to hear. So if you see somebody who is obviously overweight or someone who is obviously dealing with this or that thing, then you can say as someone who has experienced blah 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 or even so to me as someone who is the same thing as Kelly's after like after growing up with a father who was in the military and went on crash diets before his PT test but in the middle was eating Oreos by the sleeve. I realize that it's important to get healthy and to stay that way forever, that kind of thing. So I feel like I attended a session yesterday and she talked about the three E's, and it was that you want to be excited, you want to be engaging, and you want to enroll them, like solve their problems. So you want to hear what they have going on. So really, it's a conversation starter, not a this is my commercial. So I think being excited, and you don't have to be like Debbie, because no one, everyone's like that. But show that you care what you're doing. Like this isn't, this is my job and it's boring. I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. So show that, and engage them into like find out what's going on in their world and like just connect with them. And then, yeah, I think enroll them wasn't as in, sign them up. It was like just get them into the conversation. So I just thought that was really good. And I just think, confidence and charisma and caring matter so much. So, but I am working on it too. I'm working on this whole coming up with something that I have always in my back pocket so I know how to use it forever. So that's I've not perfected my pitch yet, but I'm working on it. There was one more thing, one more note that I took that I really thought was special. Um, Oh, okay. So the what if. So you're because she said like with everybody this class I took, you're selling a lifestyle. So you want to picture for them what they want. So what if you could wake up in the morning with energy and gusto and get going and just you're not even hurting anymore. Like you're still painting a picture. All of this goes into the trying to keep it concise, but if you can make them excited, then they're going to remember you.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
and
that
one more
is.
thing. She
Oh,
said
go
that
ahead, Debbie.
she said she chose a word for the year and her word was delusional. I just loved it because I think I'm going to adopt that word for myself.
You know what? Just be delusional,
Yeah.
crazy delusional about this opportunity. I think, you know what? Because the crazy ones that take over the world. So in a positive way. So I think that's so good. And I think when we focus on the outcomes, how people want to feel, what it is that they want, that is what, when we talk about enrolling them, engaging them into the conversation, all of this is to generate curiosity. We've talked about this before. If you're out at a party and somebody is like, hey, Shauna, tell me about your program that you coach. Going into it on the on site and be like, well, you eat 6 times a day and you blah 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 blah. Like now we're into like just a delivery session rather than an engaging, actually finding out why are they asking. And quite frankly, the party is really not even the place to talk about it. So deflecting, if somebody asks you at a networking event, you know what? I'm so glad you asked. Why don't we schedule a one-to-one? I would love to hear more about your questions, why you're asking, and share what might be helpful for you. The other thing that you can, and Dan Bell trained on this, and this was a fundamental shift for me when I went from purely thinking of this business and coaching clients to actually wanting to build the business with coaches because I knew what it had done in my life. And I knew that in order to continue to grow, that the ability we have to duplicate ourselves through sponsoring and offering coaching to others is incredible. So another thing that you can do is I shifted my language from I help individuals or I partner with individuals on their individual health. And this is going to be in the resource document, but you can say something like this. I own a national organization of certified health coaches who focus on metabolic health, healthy targeted fat loss, and lifestyle and behavioral change to help people achieve the outcomes that they're looking for. So now you're speaking in a bigger term about, right? That'll get somebody's attention when you say, hey, I own a national coaching organization. And the reality is, every single one of us on this call does. You may not have filled the slots yet with coaches, but the reality is you own a national coaching business because you have the ability to be able to support people. You can also say, I'm building a national organization of certified coaches to focus on the area of metabolic health and what that is. So also fair to say, I'm building it. So from the comments here, I think that this has been super helpful. Is that right? And what we're trying to do, you guys, without making it overwhelming, is having concise resources that are not only for you, but also as you bring on new coaches, that you have a concise things that and resources that you can give to people, right? To a new coach and an existing, and if they're all housed in one place or as limited places as possible, that is going to be best. So I am super excited to share with you guys something new for our team that is a work in progress, but super proud of it. Bear with me one second. All right. Can you guys see my screen? Yes. So this is called a Padlet, and I'm going to drop in the chat the link. I'm also going to be posting this separately, and this link will be what you can actually save it to your desktop. You can save it. You can download the app, keep it on your phone. But this is actually a resource tool for us. So when you get to it, what you're going to see is a couple of things. I want you to notice one thing on the bottom. There is a toolbar at the bottom. If you're like, wait, there's something way over there on the right, I want it. There is a toolbar at the bottom, and we can make this thing as wide as we want with different topic ideas. And then within each category, you scroll down for it. So to give you an idea, so putting all of our call links in one place. So primarily our calls are on Mondays. So the options here, we've got the call that we're on right now, Monday night team time. So they're here. Your link is always going to be right here. Click it. Your link is here if you haven't already put it in your calendar. 8 p.m. is our community call. This is our call for our clients and for you as a client, right? And we know when we're engaged, our clients are more likely to be engaged. So the link is here for that. Dan Bell offers a call at 8:30 p.m. after the community call. Dan is different than me. Dan provides a different perspective. His daughter, Allison, is involved. Another great learning tool. Not that you have to be on all of these, but if you're looking to actively grow your business, these Monday night calls are probably your starting point. Or if 728 doesn't work for you, let's say you're a new coach, then maybe Dan's 8:30 call is the call to put as a rock in your calendar. So it's great that we have options. And then the third Monday of every month is Dr. Anderson and Dr. A's call. So this is here as well. And then on Thursdays, same thing. We've got our informal Coach Connect that takes place at 12:30. The link is there. Then we have the link for the Ascend call, and then the Synergy call. And then all of our recordings in this next column, easy references for you guys to find the recording. So if anybody says, where's the recording from blank, it's always going to be housed in this spot. Upcoming events. All right. If you want to know when the next metabolic reset call is, it's actually tomorrow evening, but you can click here for the details and then there's the link. So it's always going to be here for you. And that's updated whenever the next one is going to take place. And then the dates for National Convention are here. So everything all housed together all of the resources that we have been talking about for metabolic health are being housed in one central place, like how to update and do the metabolic quiz and the jot form, the new training videos, that can be shared with clients, the corporate story. If you're unfamiliar with what is this 3.0, what does it really mean? This is an incredible video with Dan Chard. It also includes the scientist, the lead scientist, explaining our clinical studies, links for the clinical studies, links about how does fat burn work, links about how to exercise on the program, links to coach answers. It's all right here for us. And then the other thing that I did put here, and you guys can go in and look at everything else that's here so far, is also a link for compliance guidelines. And as we are evolving into this new world, it is important that we continue to follow compliance guidelines on what needs to go on images. If you show weight loss, what can you say regarding metabolic health? What can you say regarding income? And all of this is important for us as independent contractors. So, for example, last week I got dinged because I got a letter from compliance because I had referenced in a post, if you are seeking additional income, that I was looking for new business partners. I didn't say how much, I didn't say anything, but if you're seeking additional income, and they want the full disclaimer on there, which I went back and added. So, encourage you as an independent contractor to be familiar with these guidelines. I don't encourage relying on what you see another coach or leader do, because we'll always be held accountable to the agreement that we sign. So just putting that out there, so you know exactly where to go for those resources. And then the last thing here is, as we're coming up with training documents, like last week we had the good questions to ask, the client support questions. That resource document is there. And then the how do you describe what you do when you're asked, what is it that you do for a living, that we talked, there'll be a resource document for that. So y'all excited about having that? Good, good. Let me drop the link here for you. The Padlet, if you want to grab that, go ahead and grab it. You guys will all have viewing capability on there. I am open to your feedback for what to add to it. My goal is to make it helpful, but not overwhelming with too much information in there. So that is it. I'm looking at the clock. We are right at the top of the hour. So time to head over to the community call. I will be on Dan Bell's call at 8:30. If you want to join over there, would look forward to seeing you there. So thank you guys, to Kelly, to Vicky, to Debbie, who shared tonight. And I will see you guys later in the week.